Now, a group of farmers and regional landowners are opposing an overhead transmission project at the pointy end of the transition to renewable energy. They're worried it'll be a blight on the landscape and drive down the value of their properties in southern New South Wales near the ACT. HumeLink will connect Snowy Hydro 2.0 to the grid, along with other renewables projects, through a 360 kilometre of power lines and massive towers as tall as the Harbour Bridge's pylons. Here's a promotional video.
The demand for electricity is growing, and the source of that energy is changing as new generation comes online. If approved by the Australian Energy Regulator, a new transmission line will be built in southern New South Wales. HumeLink will lower electricity bills and reinforce the electricity grid, enabling a higher volume of affordable and reliable energy to be shared between New South Wales, the ACT and Victoria.
Now, the New South Wales Treasurer, Matt Keane, has tried to sweeten this deal, offering landholders $200,000 of taxpayers' money for every kilometre of the project. That's paid out over 20 years. Now, just remember, when you talk about the energy transition, the federal government's talking about 28,000 kilometres of transmission like this. Not going to happen. Let's bring in Michael Katz, who's one of the farmers who's going to be affected. He joins me from Gurrindar, 30 kilometres northwest of Goulburn. Great to talk to you, Michael. Tell us about this project, how you came to be told about it, how it will impact on your land.
Well, we got told about 2 years ago. Transgrid got in touch with us, sent us a note and came out to see us and said, well, we're going to do it. And we said, no. And they said, sorry, but under the rules, under the law, we can acquire your land anyway. So get used to it.
Take it or leave it offer.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's been 2 years in negotiation so far, and we're still talking to them. But it's very clear that the law gives them, at the end of the day, the right to buy the corridor that they need to use to string these things along.
If it goes right across your property, what's the downside from you? It doesn't look very attractive. Is there any other problems?
It's a heap of stuff. The farming is massively impacted by this stuff. You know, you can't... nowadays, we use GPS-controlled tractors and things. We can't use them under the lines because the GPS signal gets completely screwed up. We have to be incredibly careful as we drive around them. We can't lay fences parallel to them because if you run a fence parallel to the line, it gets energized and becomes a hot wire and will kill you. A whole range of things like this that are damaging to our operation. But also, when they string it, they clear fell a 70-metre corridor all the way along our place. And there's thousands of trees that will be destroyed. They're habitats for natural flora and fauna. And it's just shocking to see this. You know, we've been here on this place for 20-odd years, and we've spent a lot of time and energy putting in tree lines, changing the way we manage it so that it's more environmentally friendly and sustainable. And then they come along and rip the guts out of it. It's just shocking.
It is extraordinary. What chance do you have of stopping it? And well, I suppose the other alternative is to put these power lines underground, but they say that's too expensive.
Well, that's the crux of the argument. Yes, the cash cost of putting our cables underground is a little bit more expensive. Nothing like the numbers that Transgrid claim. They've claimed up to 20 billion to put them underground, but they've even they have admitted that that's a rubbish number. The real number is about 7 billion, probably, maybe a little bit less. And the number to build HumeLink will be 4 to 5 billion. So they're relatively close, but you can't think of it in those terms. Those are cash costs to build. What really counts is the cost to operate over the life of the infrastructure. And there's one thing about these overhead power lines that's been established in studies all around the world, and that is that these overhead power lines are linked to the creation of bushfires. And we've got 360 kilometres of line being proposed, which will be there for about 100 years. Now, that's 100% probability over 100 years that there will be a bushfire. A bushfire will cost somewhere between $1 billion and $10 billion, depending on how big it is and how bad it gets. But let's assume $5 billion. So
yeah, I see where you're going, Michael. There are all sorts of other costs in the here and now and in the decades to come. I appreciate you sharing this argument with us, and keep us up to date if you can.
Look, absolutely happy to. I think it's a real opportunity for Australia to get back in front and have really environmentally friendly transmission as well as renewable energy generation.
Thanks so much. Michael Katz there, Southern New South Wales, telling us about this issue.